Welcome to Buckets, coming to you from the Tommy John Home Studios. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I'm joined by Kyle Murray from Roto Grinders, Kmur DFS on Twitter, and in the Action Network app. We're going to give you best bets for Friday, April 4th in the association. Make sure to check out Brad Ashton and Jim Turvey on the weekly Futures Show. Always doing deep dives, always giving you good bets, always finding angles in the association. Brandon's futures are going to be red hot right now because he's been diving in, doing the digging. Jim is on some shit this week. Jim is like in the lab. So you're going to want to check out the Friday episode as well as Jim on Monday's Future J's episode. We'll give you best bets. Make sure you download the Action Network app if you haven't yet. I say that before every single show. And I understand if you've been listening to the show a long time, you're like, yeah. But like if you haven't, like if you're just like, no, I just like the show. I don't want to download your app. I promise you're going to get something out of it. If you listen to the show, you're going to get something out of it. Even if you're just like, I got my own system, whatever. It's great to track scores. It's great to track props. Our API is extremely fast. Trust me, you're going to want to download the app. Go to youtube.com/The Action Network and subscribe. You can catch this video version of this show as well as lots of cool stuff. We will do a live show after the end of the regular season, giving you a live reaction as the playoff lines come out. We did it last year. It was a blast. So make sure to tune in to that on the Sunday, April 13th, I believe, is when that goes down. And we will do a live reaction here on Buckets with the crew, breaking down the NBA playoff lines, series lines, game one lines. We will be like, we'll react to the market and we'll hit stuff immediately because there's always stuff that we're like, sorry, what? Wait, you really? So make sure you check that out. All right, Kyle, we'll go around the horn. Let's give our best bets for Friday, and then we will do the old Caparoonie. What are your best bets for Friday?
They got two player props. First one, Malik Monk over 21.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And then we're going Anthony Davis over 25.5 points and assists.
All right. I like Suns Celtics over 227.5. The Toronto Raptors plus 11 at home. And I'm going to lay the wood. I'm going to lay the big heavy wood. Pacers. There's a minus 15.5 in the market as I record this. It's 16 in some places. I'm okay at 16. I'm okay at 16.5. That's the stopping point. I'll take Indiana Pacers versus the Utah Jazz. All right, let's start. Talk to me about Malik Monk, who I feel like has just like vanished off the face of the earth. like he was such a big story last year, and then like with this King slide and DeMar DeRozan, and I love DeMar. He's one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. He's a really good guy. Everyone really loves him. He walks into a basketball court and like the lights get a little bit dimmer. It's just like what happens for teams. Talk to me about Malik Monk over 21.5 PRA.
Yeah, it's been an interesting kind of fall or return to grace for some of these Kings players and franchise as a whole. But yeah, Malik Monk over 21.5 PRA. Took this number 2 games ago at 20.5 PRA, and we lost this one on the hook thanks to him shooting 2 for 14 from the field. So that one's always fun. I think he had 7 assists and 7 rebounds. So I figured you look at the box score, you're feeling pretty good about that, considering Malik Monk does have pretty good usage off the bench. He has returned to that 6-man role. So while you're going to see a little bit more of inconsistent minutes, he did have a little bit of a kind of a ceiling game last time out, 34.5 minutes. So basically 35 minutes. If that's his ceiling, obviously this game does have significant blowout risk, but in a game that stays close, a 35 minutes ceiling off the bench in that role. And that goes to show, kind of the added ceiling that you're giving him for this projection here. But in a 32-minute projection, I have him for about 18 points, 5.5 assists, and 4 rebounds. And like I mentioned, in that new bench role, while you are going to see fewer minutes, you're going to see more touches, more usage as well. So that's been pretty consistent over the course of the last 10 games. He has 13 plus shot attempts in 8 of his last 10 games. So the volume's there from Malik Monk, and he's done pretty well on a peripheral basis pretty much all year long. Whether it's in the starting role or off the bench, he's done a good job at putting up assist and even rebound numbers as well. So I like this number from Malik Monk at over 21.5 PRA. Like I mentioned, projects for 18 points, 5.5 assists, and 4 rebounds. And good matchup against Charlotte. If the game stays close, even better chance to hit this number. But if the game blows out, again, in that bench role, you're also not projecting him to play 35, 36 minutes. So it kind of neutralizes the blowout risk to go along with that projection as well. So I like this number from Malik Monk.
That's really smart on the bench, on the men's projection there. So like you're not in need of him playing heavy minutes, which is probably good when you're playing the Charlotte Hornets. I will say I almost took Hornets here and could not stomach it, but I like to play on Malik Monk. It'll be interesting to see how, if he can get right. They really need this game to try and stay alive in the play-in tournament race. Like, they're in real danger of falling completely out, even with it as bad as the Suns are. So speaking of the Suns, I want Suns Celtics over 227 and a half. Suns on the road this season, a 63.2% rate to the over. Celtics at home, 54.1%. If you've been listening to the show all year, you know I've talked a lot about how the Celtics defense has just not been good at home. That has stabilized somewhat. They played better after the All-Star break. Over-unders 5-5 after the All-Star break for the Boston Celtics. So that's like a little bit better for them. I get that that's like a little bit of a better spot in terms of the overall improvement, but I'm not sold that it's a good spot here. The other thing is, like, the Suns are 30th in defensive rating since the All-Star break. They are dead last. They have absolutely given up the ghost there. No Kevin Durant, don't really care. Suns still have some guys that can get up shots. Celtics are still going to allow some stuff to get by, even if they lock down. Like, there's two outcomes here. The Celtics screw around like they have all year at home, and this number goes over because the Suns score more than expected. Or the Celtics put the clamps on, but they themselves put up like 140 on this team. I'm willing to go ahead and go with the overall season trends and take the over of 227 and a half. There'll be a half unit play for me on this one. My best bet is coming up, and it's a gross one. But before we do that, we got to get to the unibrow. Anthony Davis, Mr. I'm top 75 of all time himself. No one talks more about that list than AD. Good for him. So talk to me about Anthony Davis over 25.5 points and assists.
Yeah, I took the under on Anthony Davis in this number 2 or 3 games ago, and it's at 28.5. So this number has fallen down a little bit, even after that big showing last time out against obviously a much better matchup against the Hawks. He scored 34 actual points, 2 assists there as well. So obviously the matchup is a lot more difficult here for this one against the Clippers. But as the season winds down, the chance for AD to get pushed up a bit minutes-wise improves, in my opinion. Kids come out a couple of times saying he's going to be in that 28 to 30-minute range. I'm not thinking that they're going to see AD out there for 34 to 36 minutes, but they still need to win games. Obviously, the Suns are still chasing, and they could still technically fall out. While it's probably unlikely at this point, but even if they were, more likely to make the playoffs, it is going to be a spot where they are going to want him to get a little bit more minutes-wise here. So I do think if in a game that stays close, 31, 32, maybe 33 minutes is in reach here for AD. So, well, again, I'm still projecting him to play 29 to 30 minutes in this one. He projects well even in that sample there. I have him for 24 points, along with 3.5 assists here. So, again, I do think there's upside for AD to play a couple more minutes than the market is probably expecting in that 29 to 30-minute projection. And if that's the case, and this game does stay close, it's a competitive one, which, by the way, the Mavs, who have arguably been the most shorthanded team in basketball over the last month, they were still staying with some teams. They were actually putting up some competitive performances with, Najee Marshall, Klay Thompson, and Spencer Dinwiddie at the helm. So, again, I think this is still a team that can play some solid team basketball and keep the game close. So I like this number for AD at over 25.5 points and assists.
Yeah, I like the assist inclusion here just in case who gives him some trouble, because I don't ever love backing AD versus anybody that's got size and physicality. He doesn't like those matchups, but based off of how often the Clippers want to switch, there's probably some opportunities here for AD to get going versus the second unit in particular. So I like this play as well, especially with the assists. We'll talk about a little bit more about this game in a minute because we're going to do our Tommy John Ballsy parlay of the week. But I need to tell you right now, we mentioned at the top of the show that we're coming to you from our Tommy John home studios. That's because great games begin with great underwear, and Tommy John makes the greatest. You're gonna love everything you get from Tommy John. You're gonna feel more comfortable. It's gonna breathe. It's getting to be warm weather, which means you need stuff that's like super comfortable and lightweight when you're hanging out around the house. Nothing better than Tommy John, from the underwear to pajama pants to the t-shirts. Best t-shirts I've ever slept in. Just absolute best sleepwear t-shirts I've ever had. They are so freaking comfortable. It's unbelievable. When you're truly comfortable, you do everything better, and that includes betting. So if you love the Buckets podcast and you love our crew, you're going to love Tommy John. Get 25% off your first order right now at TommyJohn.com/buckets. That's 25% off at TommyJohn.com/buckets. And since we're talking about Tommy John, we're going to build a Tommy John ballsy parlay because we're going to go in on this game. All right. let's take the 25.5, the 25 plus. We'll take it to the round number, 25 plus points and assists for AD. This number is crept up to 9 at DraftKings. I make it 7. Not a lot of value. Still expect the Clippers to win, but if you're going to go, as I always say, the numbers say that if a team is going to cover as a dog, they win outright 60% of the time in the regular season. So, based off of that, we're going to go the whole way here. It's a 2-leg parlay. Anthony Davis, 25 plus point assist. And if AD has a good game against Zubac and this defense, Clippers might have a hard time keeping up because their offense has been good with Kawhi. But sometimes it still kind of sputters. That gives the Mavericks a chance in this game. We're going to do Mavericks money line plus AD, 25 plus points and assists for plus 550. A 2-leg plus 550. That's your ballsy parlay of the week. Is it crazy, Kyle?
No, I don't think so. Like I mentioned, one of the angles for liking AD. Well, I do think he's also going to be able to get some, better matchups there with Gafford being back. I do think that if this is a spot where he does take over and, they have a good chance to cover, or if it's a spot where they do win this game, obviously, like I mentioned, I think he's going to have a chance to play a couple extra minutes. So I think this correlates really well. And, it's a ballsy parlay for a reason, right? We're looking for some juice.
Absolutely. All right. 2 more picks from me. The Utah Jazz are not good, as our producer David Payne always attests to. They are not good, in fact. They've been okay against the spread this season, 38-38 and 1. So I get it. The Pacers are actually sub 500 as a home team this season, ATS. Jazz 19-18 and 1, 51% on the road. However, I just think the number is light given where the Jazz are. They have failed to win and cover in 4 games straight, 5 of their last 8, and it goes on and on from there. Like, they are not being subtle. They don't have to be subtle. They've shut everybody down. The Pacers need to win games like this. They absolutely need to put the pedal down, and they need to win games like this. I make this number 17.8. So, Chris Raybon and I've had conversations about this, about whether you should just lay that many points. And I just think in the NBA in an April game between one team that's competing for a playoff spot and another team that has so profoundly decided to tank, like they're not even, the Jazz were quiet tanking for a while. We're like, we're going to play our guys versus the good teams. And now they pivoted and they're just like, nope, everybody's done. Like, it's all over. And so I think the Pacers probably blow this team out. They're in a let's ramp up for the playoffs mode. So I get it's a lot of points. I don't mind it. I'm going to lay 15.5 with the Indiana Pacers. Finally, this is my favorite bet of the night. It's the Toronto Raptors, because that's what you need in your life is the Toronto Raptors. Take on the Detroit Pistons. My model has for a while been kind of flummoxed by Detroit, where they're like, yeah, no, they're good, but like not like this good. Cade Cunningham's been upgraded to questionable, which is why another reason why this number is so high. It's likely that Cade plays in this game. All right. Returning heavy usage player who's been out a while. Check. We want to fade that team in that spot. The Raptors, you're not going to believe this, because I didn't believe it when I looked at it, because it genuinely defies pretty much all reason. The Raptors this season, after the All-Star break, have been still this. They were a good ATS team in the first half, but I was like, well, they're probably bad after All-Star break, because like they're tanking, they're resting these guys. Nope. After the All-Star break, they are 14-8 at 64% against the spread. That's a wild number to me. That like after the All-Star break, they're that good. Then there's this one, which I also love because I always like finding teams. What teams respond after a loss? What teams is the coaching staff like, hey, we gotta play better than that? Think about how often the Raptors have lost this season. They're 29-19 against the spread after a loss. And they can say, like, they just cover all numbers. It's true, but they're especially good after a loss. So this is a really good spot here, I think, to back the Raptors versus the Pistons, grabbing this many points. So I will take the Toronto Raptors plus 11 versus the Detroit Pistons. Oh, one more note on that Celtics game I forgot to mention. I was going to play Suns. The Celtics are off of a loss. You cannot fade the Celtics after a loss. It is an auto no go. I don't want to back Boston at home because they haven't been good, but just a reminder, that's why you don't want to do that. But Toronto Raptors plus 11 versus the Pistons is my best bet of the night. Raptors plus 11, Pacers minus 15.5, Suns Celtics over 227.5. Kyle likes Anthony Davis over 25.5 points and assists. Malik Monk 21.5 PRA. Our ballsy parlay of the week for Tommy Johns is Anthony Davis over 25.5 points and the Mavericks to pull off the upset versus the Clippers. Those are your best bets for Friday in the association. My thanks to David Payne, our producer. My thanks to Kyle Murray from Roto Grinders popping over. Make sure to follow him at KMurDFS, 2 R's, KMURRDFS. My thanks to Brady Rubino, Gifford Gould, getting this up at youtube.com/The Action Network. His with your comments on Twitter at Action Network HQ. I'm at HP Basketball. We'll see you guys again tomorrow for Brandon Anderson, Jim Turvey's Futures episode. Then again on Monday for the best bets from the Future Jays. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. Till next time, let's get buckets.